It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money Show. This is the program that helps to take the mystery out of your financial life. I am your host, Jill Schlesinger, and I love answering your financial questions and your real life questions. If you've got one, go to our website, jillonmoney.com, click the Contact Us button, write us your note. And if you'd like to come on the air live, just check the box and Mark will do everything else. Let's get started. This is Alex, who's on the line from California. Hello, Alex. How are you?
Good morning. How are you two?
Doing very well. What's going on that prompts you to get in touch with us today, sir?
Well, this is actually a bit of a follow-up. I spoke with you two in 2021. We were seeking some advice. We were getting ready for retirement. So you guys gave us some good advice. We followed it. And,
Thank God it was good advice. You could be calling up and saying, you gave us rotten advice and we want our money back, except there's no money.
Yeah, so we retired in March. And so I just had some follow-up questions. We're kind of, now a little bit in steady state and was curious to get some thoughts from you on our diversification,
Sure.
Going forward for the long term.
Okay, Alex, how old are you?
53.
I said you could retire and you're only 53?
Yeah.
And you were 50 at the time? My God.
Yeah.
You said a we, so who's the we?
Oh, yes. My wife, she also retired. We both retired in March.
And she is also in her 50s?
Yes, she's 53 as well.
Okay. And how are you supporting yourselves with this early retirement?
Well, we just saved very well. We have our nest egg, and it's serving us well at this point. It seems to be working.
Okay, so you have no income. In other words, there's no passive income. There's no pension. There's no rental income. You're just living off the money that is generated from your nest egg.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. How much is in the nest egg? First, give us the pre-tax, and then give us maybe if there's Roth money, and then just the regular old taxable.
Pre-tax, we have 2.3 million.
Okay.
And then outside of that, we have 1.4.
In just plain old brokerage?
It's a mix. We have some brokerage with some stocks and so forth, mostly that we got through work. And then we have savings bonds, CDs, a little mix of a lot of things.
But all of that pre-tax money is all the retirement money. There's no Roth assets.
Of the pre-tax, I guess, is really not pre-tax. We have 2.2 million in IRAs, and then we have 70K in Roths. Okay. And then we're working on slowly converting more into the Roth over the, coming years.
So how much are you living on right now in retirement?
So we've budgeted $120,000 a year. Okay.
And do you have money that is basically earmarked for that 120 out of the 1.4 million of the money that's already been taxed?
Yeah, so we're sort of treating it like two pools of money, pre-Medicare / pre-turning 59. So we sort of have the phase one money. We're keeping that, fairly safe, fairly conservative, and just living off that. So that's all earmarked for that. And then the other money is, invested in a pretty standard way with, stocks and bonds and so forth. And so we're trying to that's kind of the question is about the mix for that to make sure we're properly diversified. That we're essentially not going to touch for about 10 years plus.
So that's the money. Okay, wait a second. I just want to make sure I understand this. So there's money in the brokerage account of which how much is in cash, like plain old cash, not invested? Of that 1.4, what is in cash?
A lot more than I'd like at the moment because we sold our house. And so we're working on getting that moved into some investments. But we probably have about $750,000 sitting in, savings bonds and CDs right now, taking advantage of the good interest rates. But, I know they're not going to last forever. So we're. But
essentially, I mean, you could say, given you're 53, are you turning 54 this year?
Yes.
You could take of that 750, you could basically say, I want to put a bunch of that, at least half of that should be kept safe, right? Because you're going to spend it.
Right.
Is that the game plan?
Yep.
Okay. Do you own a house in since you've moved?
No, we're renting.
Okay. And you don't plan to buy again?
Right.
Okay. Got it. All right.
This whole thing. Are you sure you called our show?
Yeah.
Seriously, because I don't know that we would have given you this advice.
Well,
based on the numbers, and when they're spending 100, it's not like they're spending 3,000 a month.
well, I'm just looking at this. I think he can make it work. I'll tell you how he does it. He ends up basically saying of the 1.4 million, remember, we're going to spend that most of that money's been taxed. Let's just say, Mark, for argument's sake, all the cash is gone out of so the 1.4 in 6 years is the 750 is gone, right? And then there's another 650 that's available. And then what I think what you're getting at is at 59. First of all, I would never convert any of your money right now. I would not do that. Absolutely would not do that, because you're going to spend that pre-tax money. So then you at 59 and a half, I could see how this works, which is you would then start pulling money out of your pre-tax account to the tune of 150 grand a year, pay your taxes on it and live on or let's say $160,000 a year, pull the money out, right? And let that take you to Social Security, 67. And then you don't need the 120, but it's close, dude. It's not like this was no slam dunk. Are you willing to go back to work?
I'd sure like to not have to.
Do you have kids, grown kids?
Yes, we do.
You're not leaving them anything, right?
Well, we'll do our best.
No, you're not going to leave them anything. You're going to have to spend all of your money. You really are.
What was the deal with the jobs? I just refreshed my memory. Did you
Mark wants to make sure that we gave you this advice.
Well, I'm looking at my sent emails from because I can usually track this stuff. I don't see anything. That's why I'm just wondering. I don't see any past correspondence. So what was the deal with the jobs? Were you miserable? I mean, were you miserable at the time and you just wanted out? What was the deal?
Yeah, I mean, we were looking for some more freedom and so forth. I mean, we were definitely looking for a change.
Mark's going back into the files. I can hear him right now.
Yeah.
Like, I don't believe this.
Well, if we're saying it's too close for comfort right now, we would have said that back then.
Well, back then, was there anything that was different about your situation, just out of curiosity?
No, we laid out this plan pretty specifically. The area that you gave your most focused advice was kind of on the phase one money that we're using now. Yeah. You encouraged us, to make more of that and save and, concentrate in that area. So.
Well, I mean, I think they can do it, Mark. I really do. I think that there's two parts of it. One is that if you look at the next, let's presume, and the 120, is that like set in stone? I mean, you don't have a mortgage or anything. It's just, is there any give on that 120?
Well, sure. I mean, we can be flexible as the situation allows. That's just kind of the expenses that we've, predicted.
We'll get back to Alex in just a minute. If you've got something percolating in your life and you need another set of ears and eyes on the situation, let us know. Mark and I are both CFPs. Just go to the website jillonmoney.com and click the Contact Us button.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get back to Alex from California. I mean, I think that they might be able to do it. Let's just stay with me for a second here, Mark, because I hear Mark is getting worried. So if we look at the cash, okay, so we're going to spend 120 grand a year, okay? So out of the one, we need to spend, essentially we have to take $1 million of the 1.4 and spend it, right? Because we got 6 years to go and maybe there's going to be some capital gains, but let's leave them. Let's presume out of that in 6 years, we've spent not just the 750, we have to spend a little bit more, but let's say we spend 800 of the 1.4 million. It leaves them with 600 grand in the brokerage account. That 600 grand, Alex, has to be invested somewhat modestly, just in case we actually need more of the money. But you can't really put any of the cash to work, I don't think. I'm not sure I would do it. I'm not sure I would do it much more than just buy a 6-year CD, a 5-year CD, a 4-year CD. Like, I'm not sure I would do much more, even though that sounds stupid and you could be losing opportunity. It's scary to think if you lost that money within this time horizon in the next 5 or 6 years, if we have a big bear market in the middle of it, which we totally could, right? Then I'm worried. So if I left you with 600 grand in 6 years, plus the 2.3 million, I'm just going to say 2.3 is all the, or 2.2 in the pre-tax. Now at 59 and a half, you're going to start pulling money out, right? And that's when, you know, that's going to be tricky because we're going to need to pull enough money out to kind of get you through 59 to 67, right? You're not due to any pensions, right?
Right.
I'll tell you what, I don't know what I have to pull the tape on this, but like, I agree with Mark. This is no slam dunk. And I hope that you had another idea about this, but like, honestly, you're really young and you got a long time to live. So is there any other money that we can look at as a possibility? Anyone going to die and leave you some money?
Well, we're certainly not counting on that. It could happen.
I think you got to pull the money back. I think it has to be 100 grand a year, not 120. That's what I think.
Okay, that's fair.
Or get a part-time job. In 6 years, think about this. In 6 years, if their 2.3 is, I don't know, 2.6, can you imagine that, Mark?
Yeah, I would think so. I would think so.
Right. So if that's 2.6 at age 50, I got to do a quick math here, at 59 and a half, and we are actually going to take out 100 and, well, they're in a high tax state in California, but let's just say we have to pull out 135 grand a year to clear their 100, right? They're going to have to basically take out $1 million. So if they're at age 59 and a half, they're going to have to basically deplete of the 2.6, half of it to get to Social Security. What are your Social Security retirement benefit estimates look like?
Around 2,800, maybe to 3,000 for each of us.
All right. Well, that's help. That's a huge help, right?
Yeah.
So if you guys then can, you know what, actually, Mark, it can work. It can work, but you're going to spend all your money down for sure. And the allocation cannot be too risky. And on the brokerage account money, the pre-tax money, you can have that invested. I mean, you're really not going to touch that for 6-7 years. How is it invested right now in terms of allocation? Is it like 60-40, 70-30? What does it look like?
Right now, it's 67-33.
I think there's two things. One is if you want to keep doing 120 a year, maybe when we talked to them in 21, it was more like 100 grand a year. Who knows? But if you're at 120, because prices are up and everything's more expensive and it's 20% more, and we thought 100 and we're really talking about 120, it is doable. You will blow through all of your money. There is no doubt in my mind. And if you want to secure some of that money just in case, and it may not be necessary, I'm just saying just in case, you'd get some part-time work or you wouldn't spend 120 a year. That's what I think happens. I could see if I put my 2021 hat on to say like, yeah, I mean, I could see you doing it, but I don't know. How much money did you have at that time when we were looking at that? What did you have in the brokerage account?
Yeah, at the time, what we were intending was to just have $1 million in the brokerage.
So you did better.
We followed your advice, pumped that one up a lot more.
And what was in the pre-tax at the time?
Oh, I can't remember what was. The plan was, I mean, I'm guessing probably we're about, 200,000 or 300,000 higher than what the original plan was back then. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said, I think it'll work. I just think you have to be careful. And everyone listening, don't just take my advice to be like, yeah, go do it. You got to keep rerunning the numbers every year. And when prices go up or things happen, we have to keep running the numbers. But all that being said, do I think you could probably do it? Yeah, I actually do. Now that I look at the numbers more closely, Mark's worried for you.
Well, I didn't plan to worry you guys too much, but
I'd like to run a Monte Carlo and see what the success rate is.
I'll tell you what. If you limit what you pull out, I think the problem really is that I'm guessing the 120 a year wasn't 120 a year in 2021. I'm guessing that there was a little bit lower than that.
Yeah, could have been.
I'm guessing, because if you had told us then, just think, because all prices are up, just whatever. CPI in the last 5 years is up like 20%, let's just say, okay? So if you said to us 100 or 90 or 80, then we may have like been able to kind of wiggle around. But this is not to say you can't do this. What it is to say is for everyone listening that every time you guys call and you ask us advice, we're talking about a snapshot in time, and we have to retest the numbers all the time. And the numbers, I mean, again, it doesn't look, I don't want you to freak out, Alex. It's not like, oh my God, you should, but I think that like the reason that Mark is having this reaction is that we are more conservative. And especially because, you could live 40 more years. We don't want to have to see you cut back dramatically 20 years from now in terms of your spending, right? So what I think would make sense, as I said, is looking at where you're spending your money right now and saying, hey, you know what? We don't need to do 120. We could do 100. That works. Or, you know what? We're both going to bring in 20 grand a year just as like extra money. And I don't know if that you have like careers that would allow that or anything, but like that would be a good idea. What were you thinking about doing for the next 40 years, Alex?
Mostly travel is something we enjoy doing, but just having the freedom to be with family and do the things we want.
Now I'm feeling like that 120 is going to turn into 150, and then you definitely can't do it. Because that's like true. I don't know. Like, what's your rent right now?
$3,000.
That's cheap.
Yeah.
So where are you spending a lot of money?
I can expend a little bit on our plans, but I mean, one of the intentions is that we're going to kind of go nomadic. So the travel should be, not too extravagantly expensive, since we won't be, supporting a house back at home during that time.
So you would say the $3,000 a month that you're spending on rent would essentially be $3,000 a month that you're spending on travel and doing stuff.
Right.
Okay. I mean, it's possible. It's totally possible. So I would say that we should think about locking down the money that you're going to need to spend between now and your age 60, right? This 120 grand a year. Maybe you put 100 grand and you have like a laddered CD or laddered bonds. Okay. I just need to be locked down and safe. The rest of it has to be a much more balanced portfolio because you'll need it just in case. And in the pre-tax portfolio, I wouldn't make it much riskier because we're foregoing upside to secure or protect against a potential downside or a downside at the wrong time in your life. The Jill on Money Show will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. We are here trying to answer your financial questions. If you've got one, just go to our website, jillonmoney.com. Right now, here is a question from Bob, who writes, my wife and I are both 60. I retired from corporate life this year, and I've begun working with a startup. We are well set for retirement. We're in the process of updating our estate documents to replace my sister as trustee and executor with our adult children. Oh, man, This is a very good question to have right now, by the way. So the kids are in their early 30s. They're married. They've got some grandkids, each of them. So Bob goes on to write, we've let them know that we're updating our estate docs to include them. We'd like your advice on how and when to talk to them about our assets. We want them to know enough to be able to execute their role, but we do not want to burden them with expectations. That's interesting. Our kids have good heads on their shoulders. They're gainfully employed, but will not likely experience the level of financial success that we've been blessed with. How do you strike the right balance in the estate process? We don't want our relationships to get weird once they learn what we're worth. Thanks for your thoughts. I know that it's sort of weird to have these conversations. I really do. But I think coming through the front door and not protecting or shielding them or not bringing a burden to them is actually going to be a very illuminating process for both of you. They know you got a few bucks. They may not know how much. I think that once they're in their 30s and they are parents themselves, in order for them to actually make plans and also understand what is going on in your lives, you just got to tell the truth. And so I think you do it with them first and basically say to them, we're about to make our changes to our estate documents. You tell them what the numbers actually are. Here, we have a net worth of about blank. Of course, we have no idea what's going to happen with the estate tax law because that could change some things. But here's what we're thinking today. Maybe this is also something that you want to incorporate into your conversations with the estate attorney. Because look, if I knew that my parents had, let's say, a lot of money, like $10 million, right? And there was a choice that you might be able to have, which is you might say to your kids, hey, we can fund your kids' 529 plans fully, but that will mean less money for you down the line. Is that something that you would prefer? I think this can actually be part of your estate planning process, and bringing them into it is going to give them the information they need. So I think you do it first yourselves, kind of maybe superficially a little bit, but then bring the money aspect in and maybe have them come with you to the estate attorney's office in order to actually have more meaningful conversations. So that's what I would do. And by the way, when we talk about sunsetting, one of the things to look at is that, way back when there was this thing like, oh, you could give $1 million or leave $1 million to anyone, there wouldn't be a tax due. So that's the exclusion amount. So as of 2024, the amount of money that is excluded from taxation is $13,610,000. Now, again, in 2026, the stroke of midnight on January 1st, 2026, the tax law will revert back to what it was. And so that's also part of the reason why you should be doing some planning with a qualified estate attorney. Don't do this on by yourselves, gang, especially if you've got something that's closer to more like $5-8 million, because those are the estates that could actually face some real changes if things sunset back to where they were. All right, this is from Denise, who writes, my husband and I are both 65 years old. We've retired. My husband works half-time. We've saved and invested all of our adult lives. We have a comfortable estate. It's worth approximately $14 million. Now, wait a second. I just want to point out, gang, the estate's worth $14 million. I just told you the exemption is $13,600, but it's $13,600 per person. Got it? So these folks are still under the estate exclusion amount. So they got $14 million. Now, my husband does not want to talk about estate planning. We do not have any children. We live in California. He made a will 30 years ago. He left his property to me and a few relatives. 2 years ago, we talked with an estate planner, but my husband could not decide what he wants to do regarding the estate if I were to die first. He says he really does not care. I made a simple will, leaving some of the money to my family if I die first. I would like to have this sorted out, especially if we were both to die at the same time. He does not want to leave money to his relatives. He does not want the bulk of the money to go to my family. We can't decide on a charity we like. He is suspicious of having money locked in. Do you have any advice for me? This is some question. Okay. Like, he knows what he doesn't want. Just how about this? Can you leave it to a broad charity, like a community charity? If you live in California, I know in a lot of places they have like community charitable organizations where you say, like the Bay Area Charitable Trust, where like you basically leave it to an organization where you use them to give your money away. Kind of like what Warren Buffett did with the Gates Foundation. I'm going to leave it to this foundation. I'll let the foundation decide. You don't have to find a charity. And also, one of the other things you could do is just to say, if you don't want it to go to my family and you don't want it to just end up there, then you're going to have to make a proactive decision. I think it's a good idea for you to kind of go ahead and at least make sure that the beneficiary designations are up to date. I don't know why the idea of leaving to a charity you're having such a hard time. He seems like a pretty distrustful guy. At the end of the day, if he doesn't want to do anything, he won't do anything. And you do what you need to do. And that's that. I wouldn't make this the hill to die on. Nothing horrible is going to happen. But I think it's very peculiar when people they know what they don't want, but they can't figure out what they do want. Got a financial question? Just go to JillOnMoney.com.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we are a program that is really geared towards you. And what do I mean by that? Yes, we focus on financial stuff because that's how we are credentialed. Both Mark and I are certified financial planners, but we really are talking about big life decisions that you're making that impact your money. It is your life situation that drives the outcome of these different decisions that you're contemplating. And sometimes you might want to go one way. We might suggest another way. Maybe we'll get to a third way in between. But this is all predicated on what's going on in your life. So if you're wrestling with a decision, maybe it's about buying a home or choosing between different jobs or when to retire or how to talk to your kids about money or how to talk to your aging parents about their finances and their estate planning. We are here for you. So all you need to do is go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. In the upper right-hand corner, there is a Contact Us button. Wherever you go on the website, that Contact Us button will follow you. It will always be in the upper right-hand corner. When you click on it, a form will pop up. That's the email we receive from you. If you'd like to join us live, check the box and Mark will do everything else. While you are on our website, I encourage you to check out all the content that lives there. We've got a blog. We've got 2 different podcasts. We have videos, we have resources, and we have our subscription service, which is called Jill on Money Live. For $35 for the next 12 months, you have access to quarterly live webinars and a lot of cool extra video content. Our most recent webinar was focused on Social Security, and it was so incredible. So we had a great expert, Heather Schreiber. And when you sign up right now, you will be able to watch that webinar because subscribing today not only gives you 12 months in the future, you get to watch the back catalog. So check that out. Right now, let's answer an email. This is from Suzanne, whose subject is retirement, estate planning, diversifying. So Suzanne says that my husband is retired and I'm in my last year of working, and I think we should sit down with an advisor and plan our next steps. We tried one firm. We had a bad experience, not once, but twice. And we need to meet with a fiduciary. We have thrift savings plan accounts from our employer, Roth IRAs with Vanguard, another account with Vanguard. I really feel like we need to sit down with someone. I don't know where to start. And what about with the estate planning? Is there something that we should specifically keep in mind? Okay, so I think that if you want to find a fiduciary advisor, you can do so at NAPFA, the National Association of Personal Financial Advisors, or napfa.org. And you type in your zip code and you'll find somebody. In terms of an estate attorney, this is kind of critical because what you want to try to identify is a person who does estate planning, meaning not the person who did your real estate closing, not the person who like helped your son and daughter-in-law get divorced, somebody who full-time does wills and trusts and powers of attorney and healthcare proxies. Now, you may not have any type of estate tax issue. It doesn't matter. You still need someone to help draft these documents. So the thing that I've often done is like started with the person who does your taxes or a CPA or a friend in town who can help you out. You can also wait until you find that fee-only fiduciary financial planner and see if they have somebody that you could talk to. So I hope that helps. Okay, and let's see. This is from Mandy who writes, "Hello, Jill. I love your broadcast. It's so helpful. Thank you. I have a distant cousin who has never been married, has no living parents, no living siblings, and no other living close relatives other than some of us, the distant cousins. Okay, he's got real estate, a home, vacant land, and personal property. He has no will and no estate plan and doesn't seem interested in getting one. If he passes away, would his estate go to his state of residence and they'd determine what happens, or would distant cousins of his inherit his estate? Thank you very much." Okay, the question you are asking is a good one. If you die without a will, that means that the estate is intestate. And it does mean that the state of residence would then determine who gets what. In his case, the likeliest scenario is that because he has no relatives, they'll go through everybody and they'll say, maybe you guys will be the ones. But it is on the state to determine that. And I don't know if you're friends with him or, I know you're distant, but if you have any kind of conversations with him, the other thing you can do is just to say to him, hey, look, it would be great if you could just put these things down on paper. Otherwise, this is going to get knotted up in the state probate process. Maybe you want to leave something to a charity. Maybe you want to actually try to make this a sort of like a grand gesture upon your death. But if he's really not interested, yep, it's the state of residence that determines everything. So what's the bottom line here is that if you have estate documents that were drafted, more than 5 or 8 years ago, I honestly, if you have estate documents that are drafted pre-2017 Tax Cut Act, I would go and have them looked at with a estate planning attorney. I would start talking about this with your financial advisor and say, hey, you know what? We need to get this straightened out, or you need to be ready to act if we see some changes in the estate tax code. Do you need a little guidance on something going on in your life? We'd love to hear from you. Go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. The Jill on Money Show will be right back. You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show. This is the program that's trying to help you make better or less bad financial decisions. If something's going on, give us a holler. Just go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. Right now, let's answer an email from Lynn, who writes, I have a portfolio that hovers around the $500,000 range. Do I really need an advisor? Do you think it's a good idea to have a self-directed account with the option of that company helping me when I have a question? I have an advisor who never contacts me. Well, Lynn, my goodness, an advisor who never contacts you, that's a bad sign. So let's try to figure this out. You've got three basic choices. You have this person who is basically gone AWOL, so you don't really need that. So let's go through the three basic options that you have. Number one is you could totally do it yourself. You could essentially open up an account at one of the big companies, like Vanguard or Fidelity or Charles Schwab, one of these places where you can just buy your own index funds and you're on your own, right? Then at the other end of the spectrum, you can find somebody who's doing real financial planning and may also do asset management on the side as part of that financial planning. And those are the kinds of people that cost maybe 1 or 2% every year. In the middle, I think this is what you're talking about. It's a bit of a hybrid, but it's essentially putting your money to work with an automatic investing platform like a Betterment or a Vanguard or a Charles Schwab. And if you have enough money, and $500,000 would certainly qualify, you would be entitled to some financial advice. Using an automatic platform with advice as well is kind of a nice way to start the process of managing it yourself, but also having some guidance. And it usually will cost somewhere around 1/4 to 1/2 of a percentage point a year, sometimes less. You've got to check all these different programs out. And if you've got follow-up questions, of course, get back in touch with us. So good luck to you, Lynn. And if anyone else wants to know whether or not they should fire their advisor, give us a holler. Go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'll be right back.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we are here trying to help you make better financial decisions or maybe demystify a particularly complex or complicated situation going on in your life, or maybe just help you untangle your emotions from your decision making and help you get on the right track to reach your goals. If you need some assistance, just go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. Click the Contact Us button, and of course, let us know if you would be willing to come on the air live with us by checking that box. While you're on the website, please do sign up for the free weekly newsletter, which comes out every Friday. And Mark does a great job gathering up lots of cool information. You can also check out our YouTube show, which is called Jill on Money, powered by the Compound. And I really encourage you to go explore some of the Compound content that lives under that umbrella. There are some really cool shows that they do about investing, dissecting earnings, the kinds of things that we don't get into on this program. So you can check that out at the YouTube link to Jill on Money, powered by the Compound. All right, let's get this hour started with Dave and Beth from Pennsylvania. All right, what brings you to us today? What's happening?
Well, Joe Mark, first, thank you so much. We think you provide wonderful content. It's easy to understand, and we really enjoy all the information you share. So thank you. So we've really spent a lot of time in our financial planning, and we're wondering, are we too focused on our future in terms of retirement savings and really not focused enough on enjoying ourselves now? That was one question. And then we also had another question regarding, maybe a future purchase of a vacation home, and we're not sure if that's possible considering our current situation.
All right. Well, I like this. It's funny. I was just thinking about this because yesterday I recorded a podcast and a YouTube show with The Compound with a guy named Ben Carlson. So he's like a CFA. So I have a lot of good crunched numbers for you about money saved and what it grows to and all that stuff, which is kind of fun. But it's interesting that I continue to field questions, and Mark and I were talking to someone like this, where it's like people are saving a lot for retirement, and we want you to enjoy yourselves and save. So we hope that maybe you can pull back a little bit and do some enjoyment. So Dave, how old are you?
I am 49.
And Beth, how old are you?
43.
You look so great. I can't see you, but you look great. And do you guys both work full time?
We do.
We do, yes.
Okay. What do you guys earn?
Together, our combined income is about $310,000.
And is that like a good number for you? Do you feel comfortable on that amount of money? How are things going?
We do. Yeah, we do feel comfortable.
Okay.
We like to travel and we're able to meet our expenses, yes.
You have kids?
We do. We have two, ages 8 and 11.
Are we saving for college for those two?
We are. We started 529 plans for them right when they were born. So we have, for the older one, we have $100,000 saved. And for our 8-year-old, we have $50,000 saved in the 529.
Are you guys still contributing to that?
We do. We're contributing $50 each per month. It's not a lot, but we feel like we should keep contributing. We didn't feel like we should just stop. So we are doing $50 each per month.
Are these the kinds of kids, obviously, at 8 and 11 exactly who they are? I'm just kidding. Are we thinking about public or private? Are we going to Penn State? Where are we going?
Right now they're in private school and we think that will continue. So that's, one of our expenses. We could use some of the 529 plan for, private school as they get older, or we may save it for college. We're not sure what to do.
How much is private school right now?
It's about $10,500 for both of them.
Oh, are they in parochial school?
They are.
Oh, fantastic. Much more efficient than going to some Friends Academy. I thought you were going to hit me with a Germantown Friends tuition, and I was about to have a little bit of a meltdown. Okay, how about your own savings? How much have you guys saved in retirement?
So in retirement, we, between our Roth IRA, and we also are lucky now to have both Roth 401ks, we have $420,000 in Roth. In pre-tax with our IRAs and our 401ks, we have $1.4 million in pre-tax.
Holy smokes. That's amazing. And what else? Any brokerage account assets?
We do. We have a brokerage account, which is mostly in index funds. We have $370,000 in our brokerage account.
Oh, that's great. So is that something you also contribute to going forward? Like every month when you're putting money away, I know you're putting money into retirement, but are you also putting money actively in the brokerage account?
Yes, $500 per month.
How much is your house worth?
Most recently, it looks like $800,000.
You like it? You want to stay in it?
Yes, we will be here. Yep, we're not moving.
Look, he's like, feet first, man. What's the outstanding mortgage?
The outstanding mortgage is $110,000, and our rate is 3.25%.
Oh my gosh! So when is that due? Is that coming up like to be paid off soon? Are you making extra payments, or like how did the amount drop down so much? Is it just the value of the house increased?
The value of the house increased. We were making extra payments, and then we came to our senses and realized that low of an interest rate, that does not make sense. So we stopped that. But the mortgage will be paid off in about 4.5 years.
So if you were going to buy you said a vacation home, right?
Yes.
What would that entail for you guys?
Well, we still have to do our research, but in terms of a cost, we're not sure. Maybe $500,000 or $600,000. We're not really sure. We have to really do our research yet to determine where we'd want that to be.
How much of a priority do you want to make this?
Something we'd like to accomplish in the next 5 years.
How many more years do you think you'd like to work? I mean, I know you have young kids. So are we talking 10 to 15 years? Are we talking about, do either of you have a pension that would change this calculation?
I will have a pension. It'll be approximately $3,200 a month if I take the option where Beth would get the
Survivor.
survivor.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, that's great. How long do you have to work to get that, Dave?
Until 62.
Does that seem okay for you? I mean, that seems like it gets you like with your youngest through college. Does that seem about right?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And Beth, what about you? You're younger because obviously this is like a different kind of decision for you. But, are you thinking that when he retires at 62, that you're also done? That, I know you'll only be 55, 56, but would that be your goal?
I mean, our goal, I guess, if we have enough saved, but no, it's not a huge priority. I would probably go out somewhere in my 60s, unless we were okay.
You don't hate your jobs.
I do not, no.
Okay. Okay, great. Which is really good. All right. Do I have everything I need? What about life insurance?
That's something we need to look into. I think in doing this, preparing, I think this is one area that we need to do our homework on.
Okay. And estate planning, do you have wills, and do you have someone who's going to take care of your kids, God forbid?
We do. Yeah, that's all taken care of.
Okay, so that's done. Okay. Do you get some basic coverage through work maybe for your life insurance? Probably?
Yeah, I think it's maybe 100,000 or 200,000, but I think we certainly need to look at increasing that.
Maybe, because you do have a lot of money saved. So there is that. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we'll be right back.
Back to Jill on Money, where Jill Schlesinger helps you take the mystery out of your finances.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here answering your financial questions. If you have one, just go to our website, jillonmoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. Let's get back to Dave and Beth from Pennsylvania. All right, you ready for the biggest question of all? How much money right now, forgetting about the second home, the vacation home, how much do you spend right now?
So this was a shock to us as we prepared for this.
It always is, right?
It came up to $15,000 a month.
What did you think it was before you started the process of really looking at it?
Way less.
Way less than that.
What did you think? I was laughing once I did this for myself, because I was like, I better do this for myself if I'm telling everybody else to do it. And I did it, I think most recently a couple of years ago, right around COVID, because I thought it was fun to go back to 2019 versus 2020 because your spending dropped off so much. But the 2019 number is insane. And so I think that most people miss it by about a third. And so it wouldn't surprise me if you thought you were at 10 grand a month and you're really at 15 grand a month. I bet that's kind of where it landed, right?
What is the what's the current mortgage payment? That's going to go away soon.
Right.
That's $1,915 a month.
But wait, does that also, do you escrow your taxes and all that, or is that just principal and interest?
That's just principal and interest. We pay the taxes ourselves.
Okay. So, all right. Well, we're going down by $2,000. Big deal. So 13 grand a month. But then we got to buy this new house. So right now you're maxing out retirement contributions, right?
Correct.
Right.
Okay. So you're maxing out retirement. You're no catch up yet because Dave's only 49. And they're also putting away $500 a month in the brokerage account and $100 a month into 529 plans. That's the saving that you're doing, right?
Correct.
Okay. Mark, what is your observation just listening to this story?
Getting a second property, I mean, it's obviously very doable. I mean, they already have the money for a down payment. That's my other question. Are they thinking about buying this outright with cash or financing it? That was a question of mine. I'm assuming financing.
Mm-hmm.
They have the down payment. They would kind of replace one mortgage payment with another. So
right. Although they're not going to get three. They're not getting 3 1/4. But let's say that it happens in the next couple of years. Because remember, what was my goal? Within 5 years to do my vacation home. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
So rates will be lower. It's not going to be a total shock to the system.
How would you feel about taking a chunk of that brokerage account, paying the tax, that there's probably some embedded like long-term capital gains, right?
Yes, there is.
Okay. So how would you feel that, number one, you would stop putting $500 a month in there, but that you would just take that money, let's pretend we sold the whole account out, all right, and you paid a bunch of tax and you had 300 grand in cash, and then by the time we bought the house, you kind of put 200 down and you have 100 to you know what I mean? You're going to need to fix it up. You need to buy furniture. Like, you're going to need a couple hundred, $300,000. How do you feel about just blowing out of the brokerage account?
I think we're okay with that. I guess we're looking for, let's say approval then, if we need additional monies, once I turn 59, we would then have access to some of the retirement money.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure why you would. I mean, okay, wait a second. I don't think you're going to need that retirement money, because essentially right now, if you were to, again, you're going to blow out the brokerage account, you're going to have some mortgage. It's not going to be 1,900, but it's going to be something. There's going to be extra expenses, right? But that I think that, it sounds to me that if you're not putting $500 a month into that brokerage account, that money is freed up to use. You add that in, I think you've got a vacation home in that scenario. I really do. Now, here's the good news is that you've got $2 million almost in retirement accounts, right? 1.8 in retirement accounts. You'll still put money away into retirement. I would not necessarily, I'm not sure that I would put like the bonus catch-up contribution into retirement until we saw that you could really manage the cash flow for a second home. So I'd keep doing what I was doing in my retirement accounts. You can keep putting money into your 529 plans. If you're willing to tap that brokerage account and use that for a down payment plus, cost of furnishing and all that, I'm not sure you have to make big changes. I'm not even sure you have to tap into your retirement plans anytime soon. I think that if you're going to work for another 13 years or 14 years or 15 years, including Beth's work, I think this kind of looks pretty darn good. Mark, in 13 years, let's look at that. 13 years, what will this $1.8 million grow to in the retirement accounts? Do it at like 6%, just to be, kind of dimming our expectations. We're not going to tell you that you're going to make 8 or 10%. What's 6% look like with 1.8 million?
3.8-ish.
That sounds like a good number. That sounds like a pretty darn good number. You're going to have Social Security eventually. You're going to have your pension. Beth's going to keep working. I feel like this is all like doable.
That's very helpful. We work really hard at this, and we just kind of wanted the reassurance. I think you really provided it very clearly.
This is not Jill. This is another example, not so much a financial question. It's a psychological question for them.
Well, it's hard to do this. Okay, I'm gonna just tell you right now, as I talk to you from my vacation home. Okay, and I want to give you like my funny, like little baby story of myself, which is when we were looking at buying a vacation home. It was after the great financial crisis, and my lovely wife had the forethought, and she's so conservative with money, and said, like, let's do it. And I was like, I ran every spreadsheet. I cannot even tell you guys what I ran. I ran an analysis like, what happens if I lost my job? What happens if she lost her job? What happens if it happened at the same time? What would happen if? And I ran every single scenario. Okay. What I can also tell you is it is by far like the best decision we ever made after getting our puppies. And it has been an absolute joy to have this. So I encourage you guys, and we rented before, we really got in touch with like what we wanted and how we, you know what I mean? So it's nice because you have some time. Look, the market's pretty hot still, but you're familiar with the area. Look around. Be familiar. You don't have to no one's putting a gun to your head to do this, right? So you can take your time and know that you've got the money to be able to do this, and you're allowed to give yourself permission to enjoy yourselves. I really love the idea of doing something that's really fun today and enjoying yourself with the idea that like, hey, we're willing to keep working. And to do that, it's sometimes, to me at least, having this little escape hatch in a vacation home, which is usually a terrible investment. It hasn't been for us or for the last 10 years, but I'm just saying in general, if you look at like financial analysis, it's probably better to rent for your whole life because your use of your money is going to grow faster. But I want to tell you that the yayas that I get, the joy that you can have by having a place to escape to, it's pretty fabulous. Well, can I give you one extra tip?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Try to choose some place where you can go 12 months a year, not just for the summer. I think that that's like the real the real benefit, because it feels like, well, if you have it all year round, then, in the beginning, we didn't take a ton of vacations. We just kept coming out here and it was great. And then it doesn't feel like you're giving up anything. So I think that would be my one thing. Spend a lot of time, spend 4 seasons going to places and see what they're like. Okay?
That's great advice. Thank you very much.
If there's something going on in your life and you need a little bit of, a boost, a pat on the back, or maybe just clear-cut, no baloney advice, give us a holler. Go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. Click the Contact Us button, and that's the email we receive. And if you'd like to join us live, just check the box at the bottom of the form, and Mark will do everything else. It's the Jill on Money Show, and we will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here trying to help you make better financial decisions, or maybe work your way out of a problem, or maybe just kind of give you a reality check on whatever you're doing in your financial life. If you'd like to get in touch with us, go to our website, JillOnMoney.com. Then in the upper right-hand corner, there is a Contact Us button, and a form will pop up. Complete that form, and if you want to join us live, just check that box. Now, while you're on the website, you'll see that there's so much stuff there. There's a bunch of free stuff like our blog and videos and resources and the free weekly newsletter. But if you've got a few bucks to spend, I would encourage you to check out our subscription service called Jill on Money Live. For $35, you are able to join us for quarterly live webinars. You get to watch the past ones that have already occurred, and you're also entitled to some cool special video content. Jill on Money Live is where you can find that. The links are on the website. Right now, let's answer a question. This is from listener Carl, who was very sweet in his subject, which says, "Big fan of Mark and Jill. Please consider my question." Okay. Carl is 36 years old and writes, "I live in the San Francisco Bay Area, and I've got this wild idea of retiring early, somewhere in my mid to late 40s, so I can live my best life, whether that's exploring the woods or binge watching everything on Netflix without a shred of guilt." Wouldn't that be a funny thing? All I want to do is try to binge watch everything. Okay, so Carl has been hustling for the past 12 years. He says, "I've been saving like a champ on a salary that has ranged from $40,000 to $130,000. And guess what? As of June of this year, I have stacked up $1.5 million in my investment account." He's 36, Mark. Okay, here we go. Brokerage account, $858,000. Traditional 401k, $356,000. Roth 401k, $246,000. Roth IRA, $78,000. 15 grand company stock, $28,000 in cash, $4,000 in an HSA. Here we go. Total $1.585 million. I would even call it $1.6 million. Let's talk about sacrifices. This is what Carl says. "I'm driving a car that's older than some of my colleagues, sharing space with more roommates than I care to remember, and saying no to fun stuff like trips and dinners out. Here's my dilemma. I stumbled upon the mega backdoor Roth 401k option in 2019, and I've been maxing it out instead of feeding my brokerage account. With early retirement on the horizon and a solid amount in Roth accounts, should I pivot back to my brokerage for maximum flexibility? This is so wild. He goes on to write, picture future Carl, maybe working part-time at a cozy cafe or walking dogs for fun. Income optional. I think the issue here is that we really don't know like what your real life costs you to live, because you're living like a monk a little bit. And so it's hard to tell you that, yeah, you're on track to retire early and this is what you should do. But like, I don't know, it's sort of hard. For example, he's got some extra thing here, so some extra pieces. He says, I'm really trying to make the smartest financial decisions. And while I've done well so far, I'm concerned about getting it right moving forward. With early retirement, there's a lot at stake, and I don't want to end up regretting my choices. Okay, so I would first stop like freaking out about early retirement. I think just like stop that for now. And he said going global is an intriguing option for me. Wants to know about international retirement, etc. And he says kids might happen. I hear they're like little money pits. Retiring in California is a maybe. Going global is possible. I'm a renter with zero plans to buy a house. Current expenses, $2,300 for rent, then $1,300 to $1,500 for all other costs. So he's living for such a tiny amount of money, Mark. I don't even know. Like he says, my expenses have gone up since moving out of my roommate situation. I have less discretionary income these days, no debt. What's the best move here? How do I set myself up to retire early without stressing future Carl into oblivion? Thanks for your help. I would say this. You've got a lot of money in your brokerage account. I know that you like the mega backdoor. I'm not sure why. I would love for you to do an experiment. Here's what I would think. You can keep saving money, okay? You don't have to save as much as you're saving. What would it be like for you, considering that you're spending, oh my God, 36, 4, that, like you're spending $4,000 a month. What would it be like for you to spend $5,000 or $6,000 a month? And tell us what that feels like. And why don't we look at those numbers and see if you feel more comfortable living and having a little more fun? Let's say that even if it's $5,000 or $6,000, maybe if you're having more fun, you're not so hyper focused on retiring early. I think you're probably on track to do what you want to do, but there's so many variables. I'm not sure why you'd want to put yourself in that box right now. That's what I would say. Okay. And so we'd love to hear more from you. I would love to get this guy on the air because you're really so hyper-focused on early retirement that in some respects, I feel like you're robbing yourself of living for today. And you're so young. You're still saving. You've already done this hard work. Like, it's okay. Let it be. Go spend a little more money. That's what I would say. All right. Give us a holler back, though. Okay. Subject from Kojo, Roth IRA. What do my wife and I do if we contribute to a Roth IRA and then exceed the income limit at the end of the year? They make weekly contributions. They make $120,000, but also a side hustle that brings in $3,000 to $5,000 a month. 2 young kids. Well, I mean, if you go over the limit, then you just have to undo it. So one thing that I would tell you to do, stop making weekly contributions. So don't do it. Wait till the end of the year. And then you can put money in at the end of the year. Why would you do that to yourself? They've got $10,000 in an emergency fund, $15,000 in an HSA, $17,000 in a Roth IRA, $100,000 in a traditional IRA, $15,000 in a brokerage account. So this is what I would tell you. Number one, put more money in your emergency fund for now. That weekly contribution, just put it aside. And that's not, you don't have to do that every week. People are putting a lot of pressure on themselves, Mark. If you've got a financial question or a life question, go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are having so much fun with you guys because this entire program exists because of the questions and the comments that you send in to us. If something's going on in your life, if you're making a decision about maybe whether or not to take a different job, or maybe you're thinking about a real estate transaction and you're kind of freaked out because mortgage rates may be coming down, but maybe they're still too high for you. If there's some decision and you're trying to figure out the upside and downside of that decision, why don't you get in touch with us? It's so easy. Go to jillonmoney.com and click the Contact Us button. That's the email form. And if you'd like to join us live on the air, we'd love that as well. I know there is a bunch of shy people out there, so I don't want to belabor this, but when you come on the air live, the cool thing is that we are able to actually ask follow-up questions. When we read the emails, sometimes I am prompting you to follow up with us. Either way, we'd love to help you out. Right now, this is an email from Mike. My living expenses are very low, $17,000 a year. Who are these people, Mark? I have $600,000 in a 401k plan, $50,000 in a Roth IRA, $200,000 in cash. If I take Social Security at 62, I would get $2,100 a month. I could work part-time to pay for health insurance until I'm 65. Why are we taking Social Security early? Doing this would let my investments grow. I can't leave my Social Security to my kids, but I can leave my investments. Most people say to wait to take Social Security so you get more. I'm in good health, but you never know what could happen. If I were to die in 3 years and use some of my investment money to live that... Okay, everybody, take a deep breath. 62 is a bad deal. Wait. Just wait. Okay? Every year you wait is better. I mean, even if it were 62 to 63, 63 to 64, just wait. You have money. The money that you receive from Social Security is indexed for inflation, so it's a great inflation hedge, and you got the money to pay for this. I know that anything could happen. You get hit by a bus, but don't we want to deal with the probability? The probability is that the longer you wait, and if you wait just to your full retirement age, right, you could get so much more money. It ends up being 6.5% to 8% more a year every year you wait. And, you know, if you just take some of the cash, live on your cash, don't worry about it, and then claim your Social Security, I have a good feeling that your money will continue to grow. Your kids will inherit the money. And, you know, the more money you get over time through your Social Security, the less you'll have to spend from your portfolio anyway. Paul writes, now that the feds, I like when people say the feds. Okay, let me rephrase that. Now that the government is allowing a $35,000 transfer of 529 plans to a Roth IRA, does it make sense for my 18-year-old grandson to start converting part of his 529 plan into a new Roth IRA? He could transfer $7,000 per year over 5 years. I don't see any downside to the plan since he could still use the Roth IRA for education if necessary, and if not, his Roth IRA got an early start on growing his retirement. I'm wondering, is it possible that this is why they made the maximum 35 grand? I don't know why they did. That was, I mean, this is from the Secure Act 2.0. If he were to do this conversion of whatever the maximum limit is of the time, the first thing you have to say is the account open for 15 years, right? And I don't know. Listen, we haven't really seen the use case for this yet. Nobody's done it yet. And I just would ask for maybe a little bit of guidance. I wonder if they're going to say you can't do it that way. But anyway, even if you could, I think it's a little too cute. It's unnecessary. Okay, and last question of the day is from Kevin. I really feel like I've become a little too predictable for everybody. So here's what Kevin writes. His subject is mortgage payoff. Message: I know you don't usually recommend paying off a mortgage, but I have a loan, $327,000 at 6.99%. I have paid off 40%, 135 grand of it in the first 10 months, eliminating the bulk of the interest. At this point, I'm unsure if I should just keep paying it all off or make the monthly payments. I'm divorced, 58 years old. I earn $225,000, and here's what he's got. 650 grand in Roth, 200 grand in traditional, 195 in brokerage, 160 in cash. I hope to retire in 3 to 4 years. This is what I think. I don't know how you paid it off so quickly. That's what I want to understand. Maybe you don't spend a lot of money. So the only caution I would have is that, when you pay off a mortgage, I get it. 7% locked in, that's a good rate, okay? That, if I got a guarantee, that's a good rate. I just want to make sure that you're not robbing yourself of having liquidity. You do have this money in brokerage. So this is why we're going to say yes to this, gang. He's got 200 grand in brokerage account, 160 grand in cash. He's going to keep, working for another few years. It's not just about the rate. It's kind of like where you are and the fact that you can afford to put the money in there. If you're stewing over some sort of financial decision, don't stew alone. Let us help you out. Please, it's our pleasure to do so. Go to JillOnMoney.com and click the Contact Us button. We'll be right back. You're back. It's the Jill on Money Show. And before we conclude the program today, let's take one more email. This is from Sherry, who writes, our financial advisor claimed he was a fiduciary, but then he advised my husband and me to buy an index universal life policy as an investment. It was expensive, and he claimed his fee would just be $50. We have since learned that if he had chosen a different policy, it wouldn't have cost us as much, and in addition, the fee that he took was a lot more than he said. What should we do at this point? Well, this is a case where I definitely need more information because we need to figure out when you actually purchased this policy and whether or not this advisor had given you something in writing that disclosed the fees, because usually they do. They kind of know how to protect themselves. There's a lot of those legalese documents that you might not have actually focused on, but maybe the fee was in there. So let's try to figure out what you have, when you purchased it, and whether or not it can be undone at this point. Sometimes when the financial people are selling these policies or these annuity contracts, they don't really focus on how long your money is really locked up with a fee. They have these things called surrender charges, and it usually goes down every year, but it can be as much as 10% when you try to get out of the policy or the contract within the first year. So we'd really want to look at what you have, want to see whether or not you have some recourse with a company, and maybe we can see if we can undo this for you. Okay, well, that is it. That is the program. We are so delighted that you join us every single week. If you have a financial question, just hop onto our website, JillOnMoney.com, and click the Contact Us button. Don't forget to check the box if you'd like to join us on the air live, and then Mark will do everything else. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer and king of all things web. Every week we ask that you try to do something nice for someone else today, because it will make that person feel better and it will make you feel better. I promise. Change your work, change your wealth, change your life. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.